All right, what's goody? Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Let me know if the audio is fine. How's everybody doing today? What's up, Tom? What's up, Tiger? JMO, Gravier. We got the Goldfinchy with us. KB, what's up, Saheli? Good morning, Nico. Hope you're doing well, man. What's up, Jano? Good evening, Leon. We've got Stein with us today as well. What's up, bro? Rocky Dino, Paz. What's up, man? Let's give it a minute. I'm doing well. To be honest. First couple of days of the holiday, we were basically getting everything done. This week we're leaving, so this is going to be the last stream of the month. So we're going to be covering Bitcoin and Ethereum today, with my potential outlooks on what I think is going to be happening going forward. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to spend some time with the family away from the charts. I mean, this is typical me, right? It's always like this. I go on a holiday, volatility, right? You can set the clock. If I go on a holiday, it's like, it's always within August. Yo, Distinct, what's up, man? Welcome back. Thank you, Tommy. What's up, Chasey? We're going to Italy. And we're basically, kind of in the middle of nowhere. But it's a good spot where we can drive towards beach, local, some nice local things. I like to do that. I like to do some things within the holiday. Thank you, Stemo. I can't pronounce the place, to be honest. My wife is in charge of that. So, yeah. I think that's, the same story for all of us, isn't it? What's up, Jesso? These lines, I manually add these lines, but it's the indicator, right? I have them like that, right? So for ease of use, let's say that I'm like, okay, what is the developing year saying, the previous year, or let's say I want to have the quarterly value, or let's say I want to have the monthly, right? That's an indicator. So we are currently trading within previous month value, right? That's the low, continuation trade, targeting, value high. So that's an indicator. But to keep it simple for the stream, I plot the level of interest like this. Because it's a bit easier. Nah, I'm not going to go there, Niels. Geen hagelstenen voor mij, maat. Zeker niet. Thank you, Stein. Appreciate that, Rora. Appreciate that. So half a minute and then we're kicking it off. Yeah, so when the developing month becomes relevant, it will never become more relevant than a previous month. Because think about it like this, right? If we're taking a look here at VWAP, previous month has 30 till 31 days. So that's a pretty big rotation, right? Developing month right now only has, 10 days? So it's 10 days, right? So 10 days compared to 31 days, like that's a big difference. That is why previous values will always be more important than developing values. Geen sangriaatje in de zon. Af en toe een kleintje, maat. Af en toe een kleintje. Okay. That's good. Let me get a sip. And then we start this off. Before we kick off the stream, by the way, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. I'm getting really close to 6k subs, and it will be amazing for me to reach it. I mean, my goal is to reach 10k subs at the end of the year. I think it's doable because, let's be honest, we're having a fun time on Sunday. So, make sure to support me with that. It's my personal indicator, so it's not public, buddy. I'm sorry for that. All right, you guys know the drill, right? BTC Prep. Oh, first off, as you can see in the bottom right corner, these streams are sponsored by Bybit. Now, if you want to get access for free, you can sign up on the website and start trading under my referral link. You will get access to VWAP, all the goodies that we use during the streams. If you're not allowed to trade on Bybit, we do have the option to trade on Bloven as well. Just keep in mind that you need to be opting for... right, you can just click. Right now you can't click anymore because I'm on holiday, so the group is closed until September 1st. Then we're going to be opening up the group again, but you can actually go into there, log in, or sign up, and you can start trading. And once you hit the volume threshold, you will be added nonetheless. So with that being said, let's open up the prep. Let's kick it off because we've got a lot to talk about today because we're covering Bitcoin and Ethereum. So first up, I'm recording the stream. Obviously, it's on YouTube. Bitcoin Daily Prep. It's the 10th of August. Tick size is 80 actually. So I have reduced my tick size from 100 to 80 for TPO because it allows me to see the single prints just a tiny bit better. Impactful news events. Let's see what we have going into next week. We've got core CPI there on Tuesday. That's definitely going to be a market moving event. And then we've got core PPI. Now, these events, while I do want to be aware of them, I think they become increasingly less important because we've got fucking Trump tweeting in it. Like we saw it last week with Trump, with the new bill that allow for crypto in the 401s, so, we can have some events here, but whatever Trump is tweeting about, that's going to be way more significant. But CPI on Tuesday and then PPI on Thursday, those two are going to be the main drivers next week. So CPI, let's make sure that we have that. CPI on Tuesday and PPI on Thursday. So straight towards market profile. What are the recent developments in terms of TPO? In my honest opinion, the most important development so far is top right corner. This is a 3-week composite. If you watched my previous video, not necessarily the stream, but the video, I said, well, this 3-week value area low is going to be super important because it's going to be either providing an excellent shorting opportunity on a failed acceptance back within value. Does that mean that we're shorting the first interaction with the level? No, we're shorting a failed break, right? Once we start trading above, we're shorting a failed break below. We're actively trading back within the 3-week composite. So in my honest opinion, as long as the 117K region-ish holds as support, we can start targeting the 3-week value area high. Now, there's a large amount of overlap with this level in terms of rolling VWAP, longer term VWAPs. I will go over that later on within this stream. But for now, this is the most recent development and it's going to be a pretty big one. Now, another thing that we have is earlier on in the week, we were actually forming a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 day composite, right? Then we broke away from value. So let me zoom in. We had 6 days of overlapping value. Then we accepted above single prints because we had a large amount of initiative activity here, taking us higher, straight towards an older composite there. So, I mean, this recent development, that's bullish. We're accepting back within the 3-week composite, that's bullish, right? If we're taking a look at the monthly profile here, I would say it's good to be aware of that. That we're basically rotational within this monthly profile based on TPO. We're going to be using VWAP for that as well. It's just a good indication that, all right, we opened up within the month, we tried to break below, we cleaned up this little single print down here, and now we're back to rotational between 115 and 120, all right? So let's write that down. Let's go back towards the prep here. Market profile, what do we have? We have acceptance above the recent 6-day composite value high. That's bullish. We have acceptance back within prior. This is the big one. Distribution weekly composite value area, right? That means that the play that we outlined here, that was this chart. Let's see if I still have the values here, right? This chart here, where we had that structure. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's go towards an H12. So we had a 14-week composite here, right? Then we broke away, like we did right here. We broke away. Then we retested it and rejected right away. But that was bearish, right? But the moment we start to form a consolidation, this is what we went over within the video as well, right? If we're forming a consolidation, any pullback back within that value area low can be seen as a buying opportunity for a rotation towards the opposite extreme. Then we broke away from that 14-week composite value area high. What did we do? Retest, boom, straight towards new highs. So If we were to get a similar playbook here, let's go towards the 6-hour chart, right? This is what I meant. We are trading into the 3-week composite value area low here. Let me get this within the screen like that. We then had a candle close above. We formed support, right? Basically, any pullback into this level can be seen as a buying opportunity. It was also confluent with previous month VWAP. I will show you guys that in a bit. Then we're getting the continuation higher. Now we've got a bunch of stacked highs up here. So in my opinion, as long as the 3-week composite value area low holds the support, we're getting that rotation higher into the 3-week composite value area high, all right? And then obviously, if we're getting a clean break above, like this is going to be the continuation trade towards a naked value area high that we have up here, and then the high right there, and potentially even much higher. I will show you that in a bit. So just to put that out there, right? So BTC back within that weekly composite. Where did we left? Within prior distribution, the weekly composite value area. We are rotational within previous month value based on TPO, right? Not VWAP, but TPO. We've got poor highs at 119.820, and then we've got the naked value area high at 121.7. So let me just show you that. If I go towards this daily chart, one thing that I tend to do is I like to look for anomalies, right? Now we do have 2 anomalies here. We've got a poor high from this day, and then we've got a naked value high around 121.7. So as long as we maintain that weekly value area low as support, I think we're going to be tagging these next, okay? So that's basically TPO done. Pretty simple. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see, let's open up this chart briefly. I wouldn't be surprised to see now that we're trading back within this 21-day composite, basically the 3-week value, to see some new value being built up here. So now it's a Sunday, right? I mean, maybe tomorrow on Monday, we're getting another day like that. And then on Tuesday, another day like that. And then on Wednesday, right, we have a 3-day composite. At that point, if we're forming a new composite up here, the longer the duration, the better it will be, all right? So let's say that we form a 5+ day composite. If Bitcoin accepts above that composite value area high, you want to go with that break from value, right? Because at that point, I think we're going to go towards the 3-week value area high and potentially even all-time high again. Now, conversely, if we break below that value area low, I think it's the first sign of weakness, followed by a clean break below the 3-week value area low. When that occurs, that is going to be the confirmation that, all right, we are probably forming a lower high and we're going to go towards previous month value area low again, right? Which is all the way down here around roughly 111-ish, okay? That's really important. So next week, I won't be able to update, but keep in mind that whatever composite is forming up here, the break from value is the one that you want to go with, okay? CPI on Tuesday as well. That's a nice lineup, yeah. So let's see, right? Going back to the prep right here. That's TPO done. Longer term VWAP, what do we have based on Bitcoin? First things first, yearly value. The yearly is rotational between these dotted lines, which are the standard deviation 3 and the standard deviation 4 from 2024, right? Is there a trade location nearby that I can base a trade on heading into next week? No. But I do know that if we are to go towards new highs, 127K, which is based around that previous year standard deviation 4, that's going to be the sticky point. Look at that, right? We were trading above all-time high. Everybody got super bullish, but we are getting capped at the standard deviation 3 from previous year. So to me, now that we're finding support here again, if we are indeed going up, I have an eye on 127K. Then we have the quarterly. So the quarterly is actually a value that we're going to be starting to use right now because we have at least 1 month of data within this quarter. I see a lot of people start using the quarter at the beginning of the quarter. Essentially what you're doing is you're using monthly VWAP, right? Because it's the same month. Now that we have 1 full month of data, we can start to use that, right? And we can see the interactions already being super clean. I think The bearish line in the sand heading into next week is going to be based around this developing quarter value area high. And the main reason for that is, right, we're rotational within the upper half right now, similar to what we did at the lower bands. The main reason why I think this is going to be a bearish line in the sand is because it's confluent with that previous month value area high. And it is also confluent with the 3-week composite value area high. So this is going to be a big ass level. All right, keep that in mind. Then we're going to go towards the weekly. Now, last week, the weekly provided a pretty clean long opportunity down here. I didn't take this trade myself personally because I thought it was a messy interaction with the previous times that we interacted with it. But still, we got that break above. Buyer stepped in, then pushed above. Nice support here, clean break above. Anything at previous week VWAP can be considered a buying opportunity. That is why we were not able to break below, then continuation higher. And we are currently seeing sellers stepping in. So, no surprise that this was just a lower time frame rotation. If I want to be aware of anything here within VWAP, I would say that I want to know that we are rotational between previous year standard deviation 3 and standard deviation 4. We are rotational within developing quarter. I'm catching up on the chat when we're done with the stream, okay? Rotational within the developing quarter value high, confluent with previous month value high, and 3-week composite value high is our bearish line in the sand. We then have very clean rotations within previous month value. In the previous stream, that's what we talked about, right? If I go back, I said the trades that are going to be A+ are based on monthly value. Why is that? Because it's the most recent development that we have on the higher time frames. So we saw a move into the lows. We then didn't sweep them. Fuck me, right? Because I wanted to get long on that final drive lower reclaim and target the highs. We didn't do that. We just did a cheeky over under retest there before continuation higher. Good thing is we got a clean break above previous month VWAP. Anything in between here is a good buying opportunity with a stop under that low, and we're targeting as a higher time frame trade these stacked highs. Yeah, nothing changed. I think shorts can be taken around the previous month value high. Just know that the higher time frame is signaling we might be setting up for some more upside considering how Ethereum is trading, but I would just take it nonetheless. So if we're forming a range up here, first form a high and then we sweep that high and reclaim it, I'll take a short and I'm going to be targeting maybe the developing value area high. Just know that this is going to be the bearish line in the sand. A clean break above, similar to what we did right here, and you want to be going with that break from value, targeting new highs, okay? Prep, very clean rotations within previous month value. As mentioned within prior stream, all A+ trades come from this value due to its recency. All right. Rotational within previous week value high, capping upside. Takes me towards rolling VWAP. What do we have? Let's get rid of all of the drawings, hide, and let's enable the rolling VWAP. So this is very interesting in my opinion because we had a crossover with the 30-day and the 7-day right here. This is usually an indication of short-term downside, right? But Bitcoin is even able to reclaim the 30-day rolling VWAP. Now that 30-day rolling VWAP is also confluent with that 3-week value area low. So I think we have already established the bearish line in the sand, which is that 3-week value high somewhere up here, right? And I think we can safely say that the bullish line in the sand is going to be this area right here. Not just a single line. I will allow for Bitcoin to just, do a bit of a fuckery here. Maybe even sweep this low there, right? And then reclaim it. But any failed attempt below that 3-week value low confluent with the 30-day VWAP, I think that's a buying opportunity towards these highs. Now, failure to hold this and then failure to get back within, and I think we're heading towards the 90-day, right? That will be really bearish because essentially I think then we're forming a lower high and we're going to be making a lower low at that point, right? So this essential to hold going forward. 7 days still lower, but I think if we're getting like some sort of a consolidation here within the next couple of days, this will slowly catch up, at which it will start to line up with our level of interest. So rolling VWAP right here, back above the 30-day rolling VWAP, confluent with the 3-week value composite value area low. We have the 7-day likely to catch up in the next couple of days. So let's summarize this with a narrative, and then we're going to be taking a look at the chat before we're moving towards Ethereum. So the key takeaways this week were the shift above the previous month VWAP and the 3-week composite value low, which makes Bitcoin rotational within the upper half of the previous month value, which is confluent with the extremes of the weekly composite. We also saw a reclaim of the 30-day rolling VWAP, which happens to be confluent with the 3-week composite value low. Simply put, I can't type, simply put, heading into next week, our high time of resistance is the 3-week composite value high, my bad. Confluent with previous month value high at 120k. And the bearish line in the sand is the, for our bearish line in the sand. Conversely, our hard time frame bullish line in the sand is the 3-week composite value low, which is confluent with the 30-day rolling VWAP. That takes me towards the narrative. Now, the previous month value continues to be our go-to for the best trades going forward. Similar to how we provided the bottom tick longs, and additional longs on a reclaim. Of previous month VWAP. We should also focus on the potential cap on upside when we reject at previous month value area high. So heading into this week, my main focus will be based around those monthly values where previous month VWAP will have to hold as support and previous month value high for a potential continuation trade or rejection. Let's take a quick peek here. So the hypos, I'm going to be showing you this on the chart. So the hypos for me, let's go back to this, to the drawing board. Let's get rid of the rolling VWAP here, like that. I think Bitcoin is rotational within the, like that. Bitcoin is rotational within the 3-week value area high and the 3-week value area low. That 3-week value low is confluent with the previous month VWAP, and the 3-week value area high is confluent with the previous month value area high. For longs, right? A very aggressive long would be once we start trading above, right? And we form H12 down close candle, for example, down here. You can simply set limit orders there with a stop below the low. Similar to how this worked out right here. We got a nice beefy down close candle before a big push upwards. Any pullback into that level is the buying opportunity with a stop below the low. If we're getting something similar up here, I think it's a safe continuation trade towards the negative value area high from TPO, right? And then if we start to trade above and we go above the high, I think the next likely destination is going to be 127.345 to be exact, right? That's trade number 1. Trade number 2 would be slowly grinding to the level and then a big sweep higher to take out all of the highs. Now, I don't know how high we're going to go, but if the market is trying to accept above value and then fails to do so and gets back within the composite here, right? That's a rejection. And that means that we're just not ready to go from a balanced environment towards an imbalanced up market, right? So I'll be taking shorts. Well, I won't be taking trades at all because I'll be sifting my nuts through some seawater. But I think that's going to be the cap on upside and we're going to go lower at that point, right? So simply trade this range. This is the range right here. Previous month value, previous month VWAP. Failed to accept above and we're back to rotational, right? That brings me towards the A+ long. Now, I would add like maybe one additional long here into the mix if we take a look at weekly value here, because we do have developing weak value high there. Now, if we get something like this and then reclaim it, I think we might be setting up for, a shallow retracement before upside. But in my opinion, the best trade will be maybe this, then wick, reclaim, form equal lows, maybe like that. Everybody's waiting for the sweep, and then we're getting another continuation higher. The structure that we currently have resembles what we had previously. Look, if I were to get rid of everything here, like it looks pretty similar to me. Even on the daily, for example, right? We took out a low there. We took out a low. Then this is the first consolidation right here. Down close candle, big move up, right? Down close candle, big move up. Now, where's downside getting capped? At that daily order block right there. So if today, right, closes up here, for example, I think any pullback into this level, similar to what we did right here, whilst trading below these highs, that should be support, this block here. And that is confluent with the upcoming previous week value high. That is why I think it is worth a shot, right? If you're sitting behind the desk at the point in time and we're getting a nice flush lower into that previous week value and we're getting a high volume bar with a point of control to lows, that's a buying opportunity for continuation higher, all right? So those are the hypos. Now, in terms of the line in the sand, I would say bullish line in the sand, 3-week composite value area low, confluent with 30-day rolling VWAP. The bearish line in the sand is obviously going to be the 3-week composite value area high, confluent with previous month value area high. And that's a wrap on Bitcoin in terms of the breakdown. Is that clear for everybody? Let me catch up on the chat so we can do some questions before moving towards Ethereum. Let me see. And if you have questions regarding this, let me know. How many trades do I aim for in a week? Whatever the market gives me. I do not have a fixed trade amount in a week. I just wait for my conditions to be met. So I do these preps every day. And then if I see something interesting that is developing, right? For example, right, this was that high volume bar breakaway from value above the previous month VWAP. I set an alert here when we're getting like a flush lower like that and we close strong. This is a buying opportunity for me. I'm actually long from here. And I'm gonna close it, I think, pretty soonish. At least before going on holidays, to be honest. But I'm a boring trader. I just set limit orders when I'm not behind the desk. But if I am, then I set alerts, and when it reaches my level, then I know what to look for when trading, and then I'll execute my trades. And that brings me towards the second part of your question. 30 minutes, always a 30-minute rotation for me in terms of execution. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, so how to expand the TPO cluster? Right click on the profile and then letter blocks in own column. And then right click again, letter blocks in own column. That's it. I think we get a big rejection on 3-week composite very low. If it hits, lost shorting. Absorb there. I just have a little more right there. That's my low. Yeah, I mean, lower time frame should just. I mean, if your lower time frame execution blows, then limit orders the way, or just increase the time frame towards 30-minute, for example. The indicators are from the group, man, from Prime Trading. Do you agree that for bullish continuation, we have to hold? Yes, we have to hold. Like that 3-week value area low. Let's go towards a simpler chart. 12 hour. Let's go rid of this. Like it's going to be, it's, this needs to hold for more upside. And confirmation, look, this value area high needed to hold once we broke above. This is the value area low, right? It needed to hold. Look, we got back within. Can do whatever the fuck it wants up here. But as long as this holds its support, it's a buying opportunity. So this can do whatever it wants. But as long as it holds, the target is value area high. Clean break above value area high, any retest, buying opportunity for continuation higher, right? We basically have this fractal with this continuation play and this potentially, right? We have that here, only on a 3-week time frame. So no need to overcomplicate it. Bullish line in the sand, bearish line in the sand. Above here, and we're going to go towards 127k, in my opinion. Below here, and we're revisiting the lows. Until then, ping pong trade. Okay. The recently Adam is asking what about the recent formed 3-day composite. Now the 3-day composite that we just formed, if we're taking a look here at this chart, not viable, because today's a Sunday, this is a Saturday, lack of volume, Friday, meh. So I can only add this as a 2-day, for example, and not necessarily a 3-day, because look, if I were to merge everything together, let's add that, right? Let's show you. Let's get this within here, like that. Undo this. This is not a day that we can add within these 2 days, mainly due to this split right here. If you want to do that right, you will have to split the profile like that. Maybe split profile here. Let's get that within its own profile, right? At that point, we have a value area that's overlapping with the other days. And at that point, yeah, you can start merging them. But if you don't have the ability to do that and you add them like this, well, this is a shit looking composite, right? Because essentially we have 2 distributions within here. That's not good. We can definitely pay attention to the CME gap, Tiger, for sure, man. Gotta go to watch the recording of the ETH tomorrow. Thank you, Leon. Appreciate that, man. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, buddy. All right. When I will reopen the group, that's going to be, it's on the website. Look, if you go all the way down, the group is currently closed and will reopen on September 1st, because that's when I'm back. It doesn't make sense for me to be charging people like all the members within Discord. They don't have to pay during my absence. And if you're joining now, I'm not there to be breaking down the market, so it doesn't make sense for you to pay, right? So it's closed. I'm back on September 1st. Hence, we're doing the final stream of this month. Okay, moving towards Ethereum. Prep, Bitcoin done. ETH, market profile. Do I have that loaded up? Yes, thank God I have. So Ethereum is trading mentally, right? We're trading like it's looking good. The higher time frames are looking good. We had a really clean trade based on previous year value. There are some other things that we're going to go over in a bit. But I think the main takeaway here on Ethereum is that if we're taking a look at this weekly time frame chart, let's open that up. The most important takeaway here is, I know it's hard to see on a mobile phone or whatever platform you're looking at this, but do you guys see these 3 weeks? It's from the high that we formed in 2024 during December. If we merge those 3 weeks together, that will give us a 3-week composite where we currently struggled with, right? We couldn't break above. Now, fast forward to where we are today, right? We are breaking above letters in own block, right? We broke above that 3-week value area high from the previous distribution, time and space, right? Retest, boom, continuation higher. Super clean trade. But what I want to say is, going forward, this is going to be our bullish line in the sand. That weekly value area high from the previous distribution in 2024 will need to be capping downside. Now, we do have a reason to go lower because we have a single print there. So whatever we do, let's say that we do this, and then early on the week on Tuesday, we get a big washout and then a reclaim. I think that's a buying opportunity for Ethereum for, a potential move higher. Other than that, I do not see anything here that signals we should be aware of that, right? Ethereum likes to form like a large amount of composites, large amount of naked point controls, poor highs, poor lows. It is not as reliable based on TPO as is Bitcoin, right? That is why during this prep, I will only focus on the weekly profiles. The monthly, nothing of interest to me as well. The weekly, back above that weekly composite, that's a big ass level. So that's what I want to be aware of. And that value area high is what we have on the charts as well. Let me just see. ETH is at 4K. So a big number as well. All right, market profile. ETH accepted above the 3-week composite value high from 2024. Bullish line in the sun. Let me show you on the chart. Let me show you on this chart. H12, right? It is from this distribution right here. These 3 weeks is the distribution. And this was that value area high. Look at the precision right there. Look at that. Holy shit, right? So going forward, now that we're actively trading above, that will need to hold a support for continuation higher. Now we also have something here, right? The developing quarter value high. That's going to be interesting as well. But until then, ETH accepted above the 3-week composite value high from 2024, bullish line ascent. That's it. Period. Failure to hold 3-week composite value high and likely downside towards 3-week composite value low. For a simple rotation play, right? Because if this is the distribution, we are now having a shifting condition. We're trading above value high. This will need to hold a support for continuation higher. If we cannot hold as a support, retest, and we're likely to auction towards the lows again. The tick size that I'm using on Ethereum right now is, I think, maybe 80-ish. No, 55 on the week. And on the day, I would say maybe the same settings. 40 and 55-ish. But as long as it has like a clean visual for you, right? That's the most important thing. All right, longer term view app. This is where the real sauce comes. BTC done. Ethereum, let's load it up. So the yearly. I mean, this is look. This is why I tweeted about that. It was just lucky timing, to be honest, because Trump tweeted like, I think 5 minutes afterwards. I tweeted down here, previous year value high holding a support. Then Trump tweeted, boom, right? So we just got lucky with the timing, but still, it's funny to me that that structurally it was looking really good on the higher time frames. But Ethereum right here. We had previous year value area high there, right? Initially it was support, then we broke below it. So from a bearish standpoint, this should have held as resistance, but we couldn't hold us as resistance and we reclaimed that. So, at that point, let me just get rid of all of these drawings. Once we flipped it back to support, this is where you want to be a buyer for continuation higher. Now, what is a logical place to target? In my opinion, we have considering the lack of other structures here, we've got like an all-time high at around 48-ish. But what I think is going to be a sticky point is the standard deviation tree from the developing year confluent with the standard deviation tree from previous year, and that is around roughly 4,600. So as long as Ethereum maintains that 4K region, I think the destination is going to be here. Should we fail to hold that, we might be setting up for a bigger flush lower again, right? But higher time frame, things are looking good. As long as we trade above previous year value high, bullish with a likely destination up here. The quarterly is why I think, you know, things are starting to get interesting, because the developing quarterly value high is catching up and it's trading towards the 4K mark. Now the 4K mark, remember, it's that 3-week value area high. If we have confluence with the developing quarter value area high, which we can now start to use because we've got 1 month in, right, within this quarter, this should be the bullish line in the sand for continuation higher. From a trend following perspective, from a static perspective, this should cap it for continuation upwards. Then we have the monthly. Can we use that? We've got the developing month value high here as well, around 4K. Nice confluence with the developing quarterly, with the 4-week value. So again, right, similar to how we did it right here. When there is a lack of structure, developing month value should cap downside during a trending environment. Should cap downside during a trending environment, right? So the first interaction with it is often the best. So this is going to be the first time that we're going to get that interaction. And it's also lining up with 4K, right? So this should cap it downside. Then we have the weekly. I'm not going to be putting too much emphasis on the weekly for Ethereum right now, mainly due to the fact that we have such a large amount of overlapping values based on the higher time frames. So prep, longer term VWAP, previous year value high held as support. Potential destination is going to be the previous year standard deviation 3. No, is it 3? Let me double check. Yes, standard deviation 3. Confluent with developing year standard deviation 3. All right, we have acceptance above developing quarter value high is confluent with 3-week value high. We have acceptance above developing month value high is confluent with developing quarter value high. So safe to say that 4K is going to be our bullish line in the sand. Rolling VWAP, what do we have? I think Ethereum tagged the 30-day to the tick. Yeah, look at that. From a trend following perspective, oof, so super clean, right? Big push into the 30-day, unable to break below, reclaim the previous low, reclaim previous year value high, into support, boom, continuation higher, above developing quarter, above the 3-week, just a relentless bid here. Now, H12, do we have anything on the day here? I would say maybe this as a structure, right here. I think, you know, this right here, like that area is going to be really important. But rolling VWAP, 30-day cap downside to the tick. Where's the 7-day right now? So the 7-day is catching up. That's going to be interesting. 7-day catching up, likely confluent with 3-week value high beginning of the week. So to summarize, ETH looks good higher time frame as it failed to break below previous year value high and reclaimed the 3-week value high as potential support, which has been capping upside since 2024. Look, this is serious, right? Daily, like we haven't been able to push above this level since March 24. Like that's huge. So this either needs to be the low for continuation higher into all-time high, previous standard deviation 3, and so on, or we're fucked. And we're going to go way lower, right? So we better be praying that this is holding a support. So Ethereum was good at support, which has been keeping upside since March 2024. That being said, our main focus heading into next week will be around 4K, as that lines up. Look at this, lines up with the developing quarter value high, developing month value high, 3-week value high, and potentially the 7-day rolling VWAP. Safe to say that this will be our bullish line in the sand. In terms of a cap on upside, a likely sticky point will be the standard deviation tree from the previous year right there. Maybe front run all-time high like that. Big flush, right? And then slowly grind upwards. I don't know. I do think that this is going to be a sticky point. Will be the standard deviation tree from 2024. All right, 2024. Now, the narrative here is going to be simple. If you're flat on a trade, if you're not in a trade in Ethereum, I would suggest to just remain patient. There's always going to be some sort of a trade. So for the TPO traders among us, like one thing that you would like to see is if I open up this daily chart right here, usually when we're getting a trend day like this, the market tends to balance out, right? We're getting there right now. We're getting a nice BV profile. Maybe tomorrow ends up being another pretty balanced profile, right? At that point, we can start adding this day within the previous day, giving us a 2-day composite. When a composite starts to form, whether it's going to be 2-day, 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 6-day, I don't care, right? The moment we break away from value, similar to Bitcoin, above bullish, below bearish. Until then, trade the extremes of value like we have been doing, right? For the guys in the Discord as well, there will always be a short-term consolidation, whether it's going to be a 2-day composite, 3-day composite, similar to what we saw on Bitcoin. Those will be the areas that we want to be trading, right? Patience. And, you know, with that being said, the higher time frame play is obvious to me as well, where we are breaking away from a 3-week value area high that has been capping upside since March 2024. Like, that's significant, right? So we can do whatever we want. I don't really think, maybe if we're bullish, we're not even going to be retesting that. But just be prepared that if we are going to be doing this and then reclaim a previous low, that's the continuation trade, right? If we're getting a big washout in open interest, you know, a large amount of late longs getting absolutely shreked here on this move lower, and then we reclaim the low, that's where we want to get long. And we're going to be targeting the previous year standard deviation tree. You know, conversely, acceptance below, like that's bad, right? At that point, we're going to be simply playing the rotation between developing quarter and the previous year value area high. The narrative. Remaining patient for either a new composite to form up here to trade a break from value and potential mean reversion trades around value high and value low if a significant composite forms, or take a higher time frame trade based on our bullish line in the sand, which is 4K, which is the developing quarter value high, developing month value high, 3-week value high, with a price point at 4K. I can't type anymore, it's late. Well, but it's a 4K. So the high post, we just went over that within the chart. Bullish line in the sand, bearish line in the sand. I would say a bearish line in the sand is the previous year's standard deviation tree. A bullish line in the sand is not necessarily this as a single line. I would keep track of the developing quarter value high. I think the more time we spend up here, the more it will start to creep upwards, start to overlap with the 3-week value high. And at that point, this area right here, that's where we need to see a low being formed, right? If we get it. If not, we're likely to form a composite, break from value, continuation into that previous year standard deviation tree. And there you have it, right? We have now covered Bitcoin and Ethereum within an hour on a Sunday. Now, I think it would be great if you guys start practicing this on your own, and then maybe we can do some sort of a series on YouTube where we go over some questions. We do this live where you guys, because I'm seeing a lot of questions about, can you do Sol in the chat, or can you do XRP, or can you do this altcoin or that altcoin? Why don't we do something where you make the prep like I've been doing, like that? You make it yourself, and then I go over that within the stream. I think that's better for you. You need to practice with this shit, right? So is that clear on ETH? ETH BTC, do I have that here? ETH BTC. Let me get this here as well. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely into tricky conditions there. I think we do have some fuel left in the tank. I'll select, yeah. But, the levels that we should be paying attention to. For Bitcoin, it is rotational between 3-week value area high, 3-week value area low. ETH, this better holds for continuation upwards. Otherwise, we can play this rotation right there. I will post the sheet within the Discord before I go on holidays. All right, guys. If you made it this far throughout the stream, please leave me a like. Subscribe to the channel. Help me reach 10K subs at the end of the year. For the guys within Discord, I will still hang around from time to time when the wife is not watching. So if you have questions, you can always tag me and I will be there whenever I free up. But, I also need to be spending some time away from the charts and, some quality time with the family. So with that being said, thank you all for joining the last stream here on August. I will do my best to put out a stream as soon as I can when I'm back behind the desk. But until then, this is it for me. I'm wrapping things up and I will catch you guys in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.